Obviously, before we started, Laurie just mentioned the Indigenous AllStars jersey that she's got on. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands where we gather, even as we do so electronically, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the important roles of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples within the outdoor recreation community and on the land, sky and waterways used for outdoor activities. CORF also acknowledges support provided to us by the Queensland Government, and we do appreciate that support. Welcome to another session of Coffee and Conversation. My name's Dom Courtney. I'm the Executive Officer of CORF. Mark Squires is Partnerships Manager from CORF. I'm not sure if Hubertine or Angela are on the call as well, but I'd also like to welcome everyone along and welcome members of CORF and Outdoors Queensland's board. I saw Denise Cox is on the line. I think Andrew from Carl Fisher might be as well, so welcome. And including any other members from CORF and also our interstate reps like Laurie who are with us, and welcome. Laurie, you said you're going to take off in half an hour for that other meeting that I was supposed to be on too, so thank you for joining us for as long as you can. So cheers, it is appreciated. We do make recordings of these sessions available on YouTube, so if you know of anyone who wants to watch them later, or if you want to relive the highlights, they are available on our website and on our YouTube channel, which is great viewing. So they're there for you anyway. Getting right into it, got a few different topics for discussion. The old industry COVID safe plans has been obviously another hot topic in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, any other topics that anyone wants to talk about, feel free to use the chat session as we go through, and we'll just try to cover off on as much as we can in the next 55 minutes. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, if anyone has any comments as we go along, please feel free to sing out, pop comments in the chat, or and particularly links, or if you've got solutions to different issues, please put your hand up. Outdoors Queensland Awards, our awards nominations closed last Friday, and the judging panel actually met this week and did the judging and had the difficult job of deciding the finalists and the winners of those awards. So I'm not going to announce them here and now, obviously. The finalists will be announced next week. And then the winners of the awards and the finalists will be recognised on Friday, the 30th of October. We're going to have an online presentation of those awards this year. So really encourage people. We'll get some more information out there about the evening itself, how we're going to run it. But it's an opportunity for as many people who want to join us to celebrate the great things that have been happening in the outdoors right across Queensland, but I hope maybe there'll be people from interstate joining us as well. And yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity to acknowledge a lot of that hard work that's gone into it, but also some of the fun things that are going on in our sector, even while we've been in such tough times for such a long time. It feels like a ridiculous amount of time. Yeah, just wanted to mention that. So 30th of October, if you want to mark that in your diary, if you haven't done so already, that's the awards presentation. I should say too, I'm not a judge, but the judges certainly had a very difficult job, particularly in some of those categories as far as making decisions about the finalists and the winners. So yeah, it was really interesting. Some of the nominations were terrific. I just wanted to flag, I've mentioned this one a few times, but the Queensland Blue Card laws, so working with children checks, those new laws came into effect Monday just gone, so 31st of August. We've had a few discussions about these laws. They are really important to get your head around. So for everyone who's working with children, and it applies to volunteers, trainee students, people operating businesses. So it's quite widespread, as you'd expect for a system which is all about responsible working with children. So yeah, it is very important to get on top of that new legislation and new regulations. So just wanted to flag that is now in force. A little bit of an opportunity that I've flagged a few times. The training that Active Queenslanders Industry Alliance has available. It's free training on their website. I believe there was also free training available through TAFE Queensland. I believe that's no longer available. I was looking for that training the other day and I couldn't see it. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe that was only until September, I'm not sure, but unless it's just they haven't updated their website. But the AQAA training is still available and I highly recommend it. I've done it myself as my certificate there certifies. So yeah, it's very much worth a look. I'm not just saying that because I'm on the board there. It's a good training session and it's all about return to play for fitness, sport and recreation specifically. So I recommend that one for everyone.
Dom, if I can interrupt for a second, the TAFE free micro-credential courses look like they're still available. I'll put the link up in a second.
Okay, cool. All right. Maybe their website was just down the other day when I was looking for it. But yeah, there is some of that TAFE training is really good too. I've spoken to a couple of people who've done it, so that's worth a look as well. Thanks, Mark.
Nice.
Another one I've plugged a few times, this small business adaptation grant. The government has put this in place, which is about adapting to COVID-19 operations. It's closed for Southeast Queensland, but it is still available for regional Queensland businesses. So I just wanted to flag that. According to their website, they've had 3,800 applications, but they're still open. So for regional Queensland itself. So you can only mention it and encourage you to get in and apply for that. It's for between $2,000 and $10,000 of money to help your business adapt to the new operating environment. So that one's there. The insurance inquiry that's being done by the federal government, the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, the online submissions and the surveys closed, and their report, it says on their website, it's going to be released in December. So we'll just be wait and see what comes of that one. I'm hoping that a few people managed to put in submissions about that, anyone who's had dramas with insurance in the past. And hopefully people have told their story to that commission. So yeah, just wanted to mention that one as well. That one's actually closed, but yeah, it's still, I guess they're working behind the scenes on their inquiry. So inside the Outhouse, I've updated my slide because a couple of weeks ago I didn't have their new fancy website on there, but yeah, I'm not sure if Pete, David, Cherie, Ellen or Henry, their team's growing, but yeah, I guess it's because they are doing terrific things in that platform. I'm not sure if any of them are online, but yeah, they're upcoming topics. They've put them on their website there. The website's really worth a look too. There's plenty of resources available on there. Their upcoming topics for next Monday is a debate on the use of campfires. My personal take on that is you can't go camping without one, but that's up to each of you. Depends on the setting, I suppose. And then the following Monday, 14th of September, challenge by choice, a discussion about that. So yeah, it's good to see the work that's going on there. The inside the Outhouse was really set up as a supportive place for different people to have conversations, and it's certainly become that and become a place where people can discuss what's going on, particularly in the outdoor ed setting. But even this week, there was a big discussion about outdoor education and outdoor recreation and where does it meet, where does it overlap, what's the difference. So it was actually a really interesting conversation that we had for a Monday afternoon session. So yeah, just like to mention that, check out their website, and yeah, really is worth having a look at that as an opportunity to engage. And speak of the devil, I think David Maskell's just joined us. So yeah, I might, we might let David join us and maybe even scroll back to that one. But yeah, the big big thing. David, I was just talking about inside the Outhouse. I'm not sure if you've just come in. I was just mentioning the next couple of topics. Did you want to say anything about that one?
Yeah, you've just beat me. I've just been really busy this morning with my pay job. Inside the Outhouse this week, Monday at 4:17 on the East Coast. We're going to be talking about campfires and a bit of a softer topic after a couple of hard-hitting weeks. Campfires, the use of campfires on programs, and the ethical dilemmas around burning wood for a symbolic experience, the debate about it, and we've just got a silly topic about stick or no stick. It's all around marshmallows. And, do you use a stick? Do you use a metal prong? But yeah, bit of a casual week this week. And then on the 14th, we're going to talk about challenge by choice. So is a useful tool or a helpful crutch as you've got there. Definitely a bit more hard hitting, and I'd love to have people come in. A couple of weeks of a bit more easy topics to chat about whilst programming is sort of winding down for the third term. But we'd love to see you. And hopefully Pete and Cherie and Henry will be in the room hosting.
Terrific. Thanks, Mike. You've just made it in time. Welcome.
Yeah.
Onto my favourite topic ever discussed is our industry plans. I'd just like to say that the industry plans that we have had approved by the Chief Health Officer have really been a critical piece of the puzzle as far as Queensland outdoor sector being able to continue to operate. The Chief Health Officer and the Deputy Premier announced tighter restrictions, particularly in southeast Queensland, in the last couple of weeks. So the size of gatherings down to only 10 in family homes or personal gatherings, even in parks and that sort of thing. So they were very clear to say that if an organisation's working in compliance with an industry plan, then that limit of 10 doesn't apply. So it's been a really interesting process, because what it's meant, I think, is a lot more organisations have gone, who had been able to operate at 50, have now gone, I need this industry plan, where do I get one? So I've dealt with quite a few queries over the last couple of weeks about that from businesses who would have been otherwise affected and community groups. And we probably need to keep that in mind as well, that it's not just about, when we talk about our industry, it's the mix of volunteer groups and businesses. And the fact that the industry plan was written for both, we deliberately tried to make it work for volunteers and paid workers all the way through our whole plan, was a critical piece of the work that we did. So, the industry plans have really, I think, been promoted by the government as the way of being able to operate outside of those limits, as long as you've got an appropriate plan in place that complies with the public health directions. So I think the big part of that, I'd probably suggest, is if most people who are joining us on these sessions are well aware of these industry plans, it feels like it's half of what we've talked about for the last 6 months or the last 3 months, but there's still organisations out there who weren't aware of what they're all about. And I've fielded a few of those questions lately, but I think it's also about letting your colleagues know, if you have colleagues, particularly in the volunteer world, let them know that these plans are there to assist them so they can operate and can still do the activities that they've been doing. And that applies right across the board. If you can comply with these protocols, you can continue to operate. So that's the piece we've got in Queensland at the moment. I'm not sure, Laurie, if you wanted to say anything about what's happening in New South Wales, as far as, I know there was a proposal for a plan to the to New South Wales Health, which had some basis on ours, but did you want to comment on that, or did you want to talk about any of that?
You want me to cry again? Okay. Yeah, look, we're really struggling, if you can put it like that. proposed a similar plan, and we're trying to work with health on that. They have been very preoccupied with the tracing of the cases here, and certainly said that they will be looking at it. But at the moment, they are focused on the schools and the issues of the cases in the schools. So that's front of mind, which has been our biggest issue, because we want school camps to resume, and we want them to resume really quickly. I don't know how many people have looked at the social media activity that we've been doing, but we've got some amazing publicity here in Sydney and New South Wales around the issue. Because we weren't getting any help from the politicians or the public service, we went to the media. And yes, this space was on Channel 9, 6 o'clock on Saturday. And then we followed up with some press, radio, online publicity. So we're doing everything we can to try to get them to hear our story, and the fact that it's safer in the school environment, in the outdoor space, than it is actually in the school campus. But yeah, we're struggling trying to get that message across. We're not giving up, but yeah, we've got some hopeful meetings coming up. But yeah, it's not pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for us, I mean, and we certainly support, you know, all the work that you're doing, and that your members, the way that they're so dramatically affected. And I know, similarly down in Victoria, the effect that it's had down there has just been devastating with the lockdown, particularly in the Greater Melbourne region, but also regional Victoria. For a lot of the campsites down there, it's been very tough, as David could probably comment, but it's, you know, there's just sorry?
Yeah. The figures that we deduced last week is only 9% of our employment in school camp facilities are getting JobKeeper. So when you look at, we've had literally a 91% drop in our employment across those facilities. That's the message they're not hearing from an economic and a job sense. They're on job seeker, or they've been laid off, and that's really the message that I think will help us. But in the same token, the next issue for us is to get back into business and turn over those staff and get them back, and hopefully back to the sector.
And that's without having a massive loss of qualified staff who've had to go and find other jobs. That's the other great concern in that one, is it can be hard once you lose some of those people to a different industry, and at the same time, where are their replacements coming from if we do want to get back to full steam ahead? So, yeah.
Exactly.
Dom, can I ask? Can I ask Laurie, why is there only 9% getting JobKeeper within the industry in New South Wales? Surely that's a no-brainer. Given that
For the school. Yeah, you would think so, David. The challenge is that obviously the school camps are highly seasonal, so that means that they haven't had a consistent casual placement, which means they're ineligible to get JobKeeper. And also a lot of it's contracted or subcontracted, which makes them ineligible as well. And not to mention, what we've worked out is there's 4,000 paid positions to the organisation. There's 1,000 subcontracted, and then there's 2,000 volunteers that contribute to the sector as well. So if you're factoring the people that actually do the work, you know, that basically worked out to be 91% of all of the people involved in activities are not being supported financially unless they're on job seeker right now.
So does that not reflect pretty poorly on the industry, that if we've got so many subcontractors who are having to have an ABN, that they're effectively not employees because of the way that organizations are structuring their centers to drive profit and other motives, I guess, in other business compliance? Like, is that not something that as an industry we should really address, you know, in the new world of post-pandemic, that everybody should be an employee or under some sort of award so they're protected when this type of stuff happens, because it's terrible.
I agree on that one.
Yeah, there's about 5 things that's come out of this that we have worked out that the sector has been poor at, and why we are in the situation we are. You know, another one is career pathing in general. You know, we're not able to plan for people's longevity in the sector in a structured form, and you actually brought it up inside the Outhouse the other day. You know, it's that career path absence that we have. The other one's our awareness in the sector, just purely. And yeah, it's really, it is a big issue. Pay rates is the other one, because, you know, people are going on JobSeeker going, well, I'm getting more than I was being paid in a job. So, you know, it's a serious challenge. The other challenge we have, which I'm currently in discussions, is a lot of the RTOs are now not offering a lot of our courses. So when we do ramp up and the capacity is needed to be there for the demand that's coming, we won't have people qualified, as Dom said, you know, trying to get them back into the sector. But if they're new people, getting them through the system and accredited and qualified.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. I guess, you know, I'm sure up here it's not as bad. We have probably had, I think, you know, I just saw in comments, Andrew put a note saying 80% of QCCC staff that were eligible for the JobKeeper, which is great to see, that it could be done. So I guess maybe it depends employer to employer as well, and depends on the model, but it's certainly a problem for a lot of our industry, as far as that's a system-wide issue, I think, right across Australia, and it's something that does need attention and needs to be better understood about what are the risks of different employment practices, I suppose, and this has probably exposed that to a large point. I guess we need to look at what positives can come out of that and what can be changed as far as making it work. But you know what's going to happen on the other side of this, whenever that is. People are going to be looking to get up and running. It's going to be a difficult time to say, right, let's have an overhaul of the entire employment practices here to make it better for employees long term. And that's another very difficult position to be in. So, yeah, I think we're going to have some difficult conversations ahead of us as an industry.
Yeah, I think you're dead right. And what this has done is made it quite transparent and visible. So, you know, we can only deal with what we know and what we have in front of us. So I think on that note, it is a positive that we can start moving forward with these and have those conversations. And on that note, I'm going to have to apologise. I'm going to have to go to another meeting, but thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Laurie.
And strangely enough, Dom, I'm aware that Andrew Boyle from Coefficient is struggling to find staffing for programs coming up in the next 2 weeks. He's chasing me to go and work in the field, and I've got a part-time job with Queensland at the moment, and a car that won't travel more than 20 minutes. But he can't find other staff. But we've got, hundreds or thousands of staff in Victoria and New South Wales that can't work for us because they're locked into a pandemic bubble in another state that requires 2 weeks of 2 weeks of in isolation before they'd be able to be employed. So it's a really circular argument we're having at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, this was something we talked about, I don't know, about 2 or 3 months ago. We were worried at one point that when we were actually, one of our arguments to the education department a couple of months ago was, if you don't get Queensland's outdoor ed sector up and running with state schools, then our staff will go to Victoria and they may not be able to come back. Fortunately, it did get up and running, and we're on the positive side of that. But I completely agree with you. There's staff down there who are qualified, trained staff who could literally be running programs up here. The problem is that border closure and the difficulty involved in it. But at the same time, I think the decisions being made by the Chief Health Officer and her staff are all about keeping the general public safe. And I guess the only thing is, people could come if they were coming for a job and did the 2 weeks quarantine, but then it's unpaid quarantine. And what happens, not many people can necessarily decide to have a holiday sitting in a hotel doing quarantine. It's not exactly pleasant. So yeah, it's not an easy process, I think. I just had a quick scan of the comments. Tanya said 60% of staff at Camp Kirby are eligible, and if didn't have JobKeeper, wouldn't be in the position we are. It's very true. I think JobKeeper system is changing at the end of September and then again in March next year. So I'm a little bit concerned about what the changes are going to have as far as effect, but I guess it's a matter of seeing where we get to. Kelly's comment in the chat about having a formal sector as far as awards, etc., with wages and requirements. Yeah, couldn't agree more, Kelly. I think it's one of those things. Queensland did have an award. I think it was about 5, maybe more years ago that we had it. We actually had a modern award, and it got a Queensland award, and it got rolled up into the federal system and sort of disappeared. So there was a standalone award at one point in Queensland, which was, I think, a really good development for Queensland. But yeah, that's no longer the thing. So Tanya mentioned, well, Andrew's mentioned putting outdoor ed staff in Victoria and New South Wales in an AFL jumper, and then they'll be able to get across the border. Yeah, it's a strange situation. Anyway, Tanya's mentioned about having some casual staff being paid not to attend with the JobKeeper or job seeker. That's a different situation, isn't it? Yeah, and it is awkward. I couldn't agree more. And I saw Danny's comment there too.
Hi guys, sorry I'm late.
No worries. I like David's suggestion, a quarantine site for outdoor ed instructors to go to. Use a camp that's not operating and bring them in to fill current shortages.
I'm serious. Tom. There's going to be some sites out there that aren't operating at capacity or can't because of the limits and restrictions. Perhaps Corf or some organisation needs to get together with Critter and we find and we put out the call for these staff that we need. If there is an actual definite lock of 10 weeks or 8 weeks of work that requires more staff that we can't currently supply in Queensland, like I know Andrew's scratching his head not knowing where to get staff from because I guess he sometimes draws from Victoria and New South Wales when he needs to. But, you know, I feel bad that I can't go and work for him because I haven't got a car at the moment. But the aspect of the fact that there's staff available in another state, bring them in, have them quarantine for 2 weeks at a campsite, have them do PD if they need to during that time, make it a bubble. Like, yeah, if the AFL can do it, surely we could do it as well. And then have these staff available and they just exist out of that site and they go to providers around the needs for outdoor ed providers within the southeast. I don't know if it's the place of an industry forum like this to discuss that, but it seems like that might be a solution. It gives people work in Victoria or New South Wales who can't work, fills the needs that are currently existing up here. But again, there's a lot of factors involved there. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with it in principle. I think it's possibly going to be harder to do as a practical measure as far as getting it up. The AFL manages to do it because, and I'm actually on a government advisory group that they set up for sport and recreation and fitness. And we see some of the plans that the big sports put together for how they're going to manage the movement of players. We're not approving it, but we see these plans and, you know, it's quite amazing what the AFL and Cricket Australia actually propose in their bubbles, basically, how they're going to maintain it. Like even to the point of they will engage security and police and they pay for it all. It's actually really amazingly expensive. What if you want to be able to convince the chief health officer to do the bubble outside of the government approved hotels, it's not an easy task, and it's something they'll only approve as an extreme thing. And I think the AFL and cricket, they get away with it because they've got the money to throw at the systems and they can justify it with whatever they talk about with their keeping the community happy and all the other great things that they suggest they do. But ours is really more about how do we keep, you know, the people involved in outdoor activities as far as the physical and mental benefits of it, and how do we do that without the right people? And I guess their argument back to us, if I said, oh, we need to have a standalone camp where everyone can go, they'd say, why can't they do the 2 weeks quarantine? in a hotel? And I don't know what the answer is to that, because that's their default. You've got to do some serious convincing to convince them otherwise than doing that. So I've Dave, did you want to? You said you've got a couple of points you'd like to say.
Yeah, I've got to head off and do some stuff. There were two things. One was I noticed the Camps Association's got a pretty good meeting on next Monday, yeah, at 4 o'clock. But of course, then we've got Inside the Outhouse on the same day, yeah. I was wondering if perhaps the Outer Council of Australia or somebody could put out there's only 4 regular meetings. There's Queensland, which you might go to fortnightly, New South Wales, Inside the Outhouse, and the coffee evening on the Friday. Maybe if all of the peak bodies in our industry sort of were aware of when those were, they could do these casual things outside that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did mention it to Pete Griffiths from ACA to say that Inside the Outhouse is on Mondays, every single Monday at 4:15. So it was mentioned. Don't worry. It was the only time he could get some people apparently. So
Okay.
yeah.
17, thank you.
Yeah. The second one was, although it might not be a major issue, you're probably aware there's been a canyoning death in New South Wales. Okay, get one person. I believe it was a bushwalking club. I've got a friend up there that's going to try and find some other information. But because we're getting very risk adverse as a society with the COVID and other things, accidents and incidents are something we as an industry need to be aware of. When we've had them in the past, whole states and territories have said no more canyoning, no more abseiling, or the Catholic Church or some other agencies have banned outdoor activities. I mean, it might be worth keeping an eye on this one, but we probably need some sort of a system to deal with an incident that happens to see whether it might affect the broader industry in changing the way governments or education departments think. It might not just be an Australian incident, it could be something overseas.
There is the upload system, which a lot of providers have opted into, but I'm not sure if that one will ever make it into that. But yeah, you're right. It is something we all need to keep an eye on as far as serious incidents like that one. But yeah, I haven't heard any details on that one. I'd heard a whisper about it, but I don't have any details about it. So yeah, I don't think we've even shared that one on our social media or anything, David. So we might have to have a look into that one.
I'll privately share what I find. I'm just guessing. I believe it was an abseiling accident from a bushwalking club out of the Blue Mountains, and it was over in the Walgan Valley. It I don't know whether it was a rope failure or a system or someone just fell off. Yeah, but a friend of mine, actually a member of the club, so with a bit of luck, I might find some more private information at some stage. But I just think we need to be aware that one incident, if that was 3 or 4 people sort of drowned or something, we could find canyoning banned in New South Wales, for instance, if we weren't quick off the mark to assure education departments that this is a one-off incident. Canyoning is actually relatively safe compared to driving a motor car.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the upload system probably can be used for that with the reports, and they put out a report only a few weeks ago about the incidence of number of incidents per 1,000 hours of activity in harnesses. So canyoning, I guess, would be included in that, and it was really quite low, the incident rate that they had reported there, and that included the emissions as well. So yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of, we need to get better at reporting that and analysing it against the systems that are involved in it, but also understanding the impacts of it's one incident can make a huge difference to our whole industry. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, mate.
Yeah, and making sure that the decision makers in the education department and government are aware that things like uploads exist, yeah, and what the real statistics are. Anyway, look, thank you very much. I've got to go, guys. You're only doing this fortnightly now, aren't you? Yeah.
That's right, mate. Yep. Unless things need to go back to weekly, we'll go to fortnightly and see how it goes. So,
okay, well, good luck. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and I'll talk to you, no doubt, inside the Outhouse or something on Monday. Yeah.
See you, Dave.
Bye.
Yeah. So Mark's just shared that news story there. So yeah, that's very sad news. So yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't give much detail, but at least it is an indication that happened yesterday, I think it was, or no, the day before, the 2nd.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Mike. And I just saw Danny's just shared, is that the registration for the ACA meeting, Danny, that you shared in the...
Yeah, that's the one, Dom.
Okay, thanks, mate. Yeah, so, yeah, it's 4 o'clock Monday, so I saw David's point there. I don't know, David, it's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? Because I did mention it to Pete Griffiths that the Outhouse was on at the same time, because that the ACA meeting is really about what needs to be done for camps, particularly to get up and running in Victoria and New South Wales, I think. So, yeah. You're on mute, David. No. All right. Well, yeah, maybe we'll see what happens with that one. All right. Back to the industry safe plans. Sorry, we got a little bit distracted there, but a couple of things going on in this space. We've done up a draft submission on asking for a relaxation on the 100 group size limit in the outdoor ed providers plan. So I've sent that through to Sport and Rec, seeking their feedback and some information about the process of submitting it, whether it's submitted on behalf of, from CORF formally, or whether it comes from Sport and Rec into the Chief Health Officer. I don't really care as long as it gets there, but I've also wanted the opportunity to speak to them about it if there's any queries. So that's, I'm just waiting on feedback on that one. So I have done that. We'll see where we get to with that. I'm hoping that'll be, if not today, then early next week, and we'll get that happening. Yeah, I guess the other couple of things that I just wanted to talk about. There's also some changes afoot. Under the outdoor ed plan particularly, the need to gather the contact details of the kids, which is really contact details of the kids' parents. Queensland Health seem to have realised that that's a little bit onerous when all the kids come from the same school. And a few operators had said, well, what we'll do is we'll have a contact at the school who books in, and they will keep the contact details for all the students, and they'll be able to make it available. And so there's been a couple of discussions with Queensland Health about that. It looks like they're happy to accept that as a change, that we don't actually need to have the actual contact details as long as you have contact details for a rep from the school where they can get those contact details for all the kids. So hopefully that'll go through. It hasn't been approved yet, but we're certainly working on that one. So once it's approved, we will definitely be publicising that, because it's a good change, and I know it's a thing that has been a bit of a sticking point for some schools. So we're working on that one. As soon as we get it approved, you'll know about it. So I just saw Danny's comment, we have it in writing. We don't have it in writing yet, mate. It's not approved yet, but it is certainly, I think it's going to get through, but I'm not going to put my house on it, I'll put it that way for you. So, but yeah, hopefully that'll reduce a level of angst. The other one, again, the 100 group size one, if we can get that through, that would be terrific too. As I say, I'm just working on it within their system. Just saw Danny's comment, had a Queensland Health rep ordered our site Friday, push to hold contact details and supply them in 60 minutes. Yeah, so that's exactly that's what it actually says right now. That's what they're expecting. And if we can get that change in the industry plan, I think that will actually remove that requirement. As long as you have the contact details for the school who booked in, then you can go from there. So that's going to be, if we can get that change approved, and it seems logical to me, but I guess it's up to the health people as to how far this is going to go. So yeah, we are definitely pushing for that one as well. So So I should remind you too, once we do get those new plans, don't forget you do need to refresh your cache on your browsers to see the new plan when you do look at the government website, or the Corf website for that matter. The outdoor recreation activity providers plan, there's actually again an update underway, and this is more about the event stuff. So they've been trying to simplify some of the event framework stuff, which is what the biggest change was in the previous revision. So that's happening at the moment across all of the sport and recreation plans. They're looking at updating that to clarify what it means when you're holding an event in line with an industry plan as opposed to a different type of event. So the event stuff, I think, is still causing connections in the Chief Health Officer's world as far as the really big events. And I think most of ours aren't in that category where they would cause problems, particularly if they're outdoor events. And there seems to be a whole lot of acceptance that, you know, outdoor activities are a much lower risk of transmission. I know there's been a report released by Parkrun about exactly that point, but the issue that Queensland Health, or all the health authorities, I think, have still is that there's the travel to and from the event and any indoor aspects of the event are the pieces that they're worried about. So it's about managing those issues. I know there's talk even at the moment about fireworks shows and that sort of thing, like for New Year's Eve, and they're starting to talk about that. And I don't think they're actually worried about people sitting outside watching the fireworks. I think they're worried about the public transport to and from the event and that sort of thing, and even going to the toilet, that sort of thing. So, yeah. I just saw Andrew's comment, the Blackwall 100 has an approved event plan. So, yeah, event plans are getting approved. There's no two ways about that. It's just for some activities, it's a matter of whether it works under the COVID safe plan, the industry plan, or whether you need a standalone event plan. And some places, it's better to have the industry plan just so it's approved as well. But it's really up to the organisation, and that's what's going to be clarified a bit more. The outdoor ed plan, again, this is there's not too many. The major changes are those ones I mentioned before about that we're looking for is the 100 group size and also the requirement of the contact tracing. So we will keep you informed as soon as anything happens on those ones. And we might get one and not the other, I don't know, but we'll see what we get coming back from them. But we're certainly doing our best in that space. So yeah, those changes are from the previous version, which was approved on the 23rd of July, I think it was. So that's not current, that's not changes in the last month. That's been the same version since then. Oh, I haven't updated that slide, sorry. That was sort of the message about the online session. But the Department of Education, outdoor environmental education centres are now, some of them are following approved plans that they had already submitted to public health units, but they can also follow the industry plan for outdoor ed providers now. So that's something that the Education Department's clarified. We also had a clarification, which was came from Andrew Grant at QCCC about music camps. So I contacted the Department of Education about that one recently, and they've told me that they're going to update their comms to all their schools to say that there is no ban on music camps. It's just the camp has to be done in compliance with the industry plan and that sort of thing. So they are being fairly responsive as far as those sort of issues. So it was really good to get that response back from them. I'm not sure, Andrew, if you wanted to speak to that at all, mate, but
no, just really appreciate what you did there, because that's a good result for the industry. Really, there was a few groups that were quite nervous as far into term 2 next year. So getting that sort of clear clarification, I think, will be really helpful to bed down some of those concerns. So thank you.
No, that's all right, mate. I thank you for bringing it to my attention too. Like, it does show, like, when I raised it with the people at Department of Education, they were quite surprised. They weren't even hadn't even known it was an issue. So I think it does show the ability of just bringing it up with them and saying, can you please clarify, rather than us just sitting back and going, oh, why was us? So yeah, if there are other issues like that, please let us know. We can only ask the question and seek to have it sorted out. So happy to be that go-between. That's part of the role that we do. So and I just saw David's comment, inside the outhouse is going to make way. So you're having a week off, David, just giving yourself a week off on Monday. So that's very good of you. Thanks, mate. And yeah, so
no problem. We're a community focus. If half the community is in one meeting and the other half's in another, it doesn't work for either organisation. So we'll all be jumping into the ACA meeting, which sounds like a great meeting with South Australia and obviously Queensland, and try and promote it through our medium as well for other people, because we didn't know about it. So it's sort of maybe it needs to be more promoted on the socials better.
Yeah, well, I saw Pete only rang me about it the other day, and as I said, I mentioned it, but I hadn't seen that link to the register for it either. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So yeah, I haven't actually registered for it myself yet. So
we'll do stick or no stick. Big question on the 14th.
14th? No worries, mate. Okay.
Well, let's stick up a promo about it this afternoon. Give them a bit of a kick along.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, mate. And you need more campfire stories. We can do that too. So we've got a little bit extra time to get them. Danny, I just saw Danny's comment about when will we submit the change about the 100 group limit. I'm just waiting on feedback on that. So I'd like to get it in. Well, if they get me the feedback today, I'll turn it around and get it into them today. But if not, I'll once I've got that feedback, and then I'll get it in. So I'm hoping, early next week, if not today. So yeah, I'm just waiting on that feedback from them. So not sure if I mentioned, the public health unit, the site visits, I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago too, that they are quite keen to come out and do proactive site visits. So, and their contact details for the public health units on their website. So it's just worth giving them a call or sending them an email and seeing if they want to come out and do a visit beforehand. I think the point that the people from the public health unit that I spoke to, they actually made a point of saying they'd rather come out for a visit rather than turning up when there is a drama or if there is a drama. So their take was they're more than happy to do it, and it's part of their job to get out and help people in the community. So yeah, I thought it was a really good opportunity that we need to talk about. Graham, did you want to talk about any of your first aid courses? I think you've got one coming up. Is it this weekend or next weekend?
Yeah, it's on the 12th, mate.
12th?
So it was going to be a remote first aid course, but I hadn't got any interest in a remote for it, so I dropped it back to just a basic first aid. It'll be at Wynnum, and we are currently in the planning phases for remote. Most likely at this stage for the middle weekend of the school holidays, depending on how many other activities we've got going on around the place. But I'll send the details to Mark as soon as I've got them, mate. If anyone's looking for me to do, if anyone needs a first aid course and they can't come to one of those, just contact me, because I might be able to come out during the week and run one for your workforce if you need it. So I'm more than happy to do that as well, guys.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Graham. Sorry to put you on the spot about dates, but I thought it was a good opportunity for a plug anyway. So thanks, mate. Awesome. We did just mention the COVID safe events, and it's interesting to see the Blackall 100. It's good to see they've got their event approved already. I put that link there to the QTIC, the frequently asked questions and that's actually a government frequently asked questions on the events. It's really comprehensive and it's certainly worth a look. That was a couple of weeks ago. I don't think it's been updated since then, but it's a ridiculous list of questions. I think I don't know. I think it was about 70 questions over about 50 pages of questions. So it might be some good bedtime reading in there, but if you are looking at running a big event, I would recommend diving into those questions and having a look at the QTIC stuff. And that framework itself is a really valuable document. I think the big thing is that we need to get out there, but is particularly for clubs and community organisations who haven't previously got on board with the industry plans and their own operational plan, really need to let people know that it's, you know, that it is an important thing. If they want to operate at the moment, from most of Southeast Queensland, I think other than the Sunshine Coast, with more than 10 people, you have to have an operationalised version of the industry plan. So it's the only way you can operate with to avoid those group size restrictions. And it's not just Southeast Queensland, it's all the way up to Goondiwindi, the Darling Downs, so, and I think all the way up to Cherbourg, I believe, I saw in the media. So it's a pretty significant region that we need the industry plans being implemented and followed really well. Like the last thing we want is a drama in an outdoor setting. No one's going to say, oh, well, they were a small club, they didn't know. You know, we need to make sure everyone's following the rules. So it's probably something that we're trying to put out there a bit more about implementation of these industry plans. And it doesn't have to be war and peace. It just needs to be a plan that aligns with the approved industry plans. So yeah, I just wanted to flag that too. But for events, there's a whole lot of information on the government website and the QTIC website about it, and some on our website as well. So the problem is, I think we're getting a bit overloaded with info sometimes with some of this stuff. So if you need to pick up a phone and give us a bell too, happy to have a chat about any of this stuff too, because some of it actually gets quite confusing on how some of these plans actually interact. So that's also an option. If you just need to pick up the phone, more than happy to have a chat about that. That's about it as far as the agenda, but any other matters? We've got 5 minutes left. Does anyone want to raise any other topics that we haven't covered, or circle back to any others that we haven't gone through enough? Is there anything I missed in the chat as we scrolled along? Mark? No? All right. Oh, we just faded to black. That's almost a sign. Might be about it. Then we will be, as I said earlier, we'll be putting some more information out about the Outdoors Queensland Awards. So it's going to be an online presentation this year, which we're actually quite excited about, but also going to try to make sure it's a pretty seamless process, and a bit of it'll come back to Mark's old world of putting on fancy productions and seeing how it works. So we're looking to really put on, you know, it'll be a Friday evening, but I think hopefully it'll be a really good presentation, and as I said earlier, recognition of some of the work that people are doing in the outdoors. So really encourage people to register for that one. Once we have all the links available, we'll have all more information out there. So.
And we're also looking at streaming the event on Facebook as well, so that participants, finalists can be part of it on Zoom, but interested others can simply watch it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Mark, I can definitely give you some background and advice on streaming on Facebook. I've been doing it with Football Queensland for 1,100 referees for most of the pandemic. So if you want to reach out.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I'll do that, David. Cheers.
Terrific. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, all right. Well, we might wrap it up there. Everyone knows a meeting that finishes on time or early is a good meeting. So thanks very much, everyone. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And I hope you have a good time in the meantime. And don't forget about this afternoon, Outdoors New South Wales also hosts the happy hour at 4 o'clock if you want to join that one too. So that, just check out the Outdoors New South Wales session for that one. So it's always nice to encourage people for a bit more networking. And Paul just said, thanks all from locked in Victoria. Well, good luck, Paul. I hope things improve soon for you with your, I think your roadmap announcement this weekend, mate. So I hope you're on the road to recovery, and well done on your efforts so far. So thanks all, and I hope you all have a great weekend. See you soon.